Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, here we are again for another week of questions. We are old school today. We are in the KendoStar shipping area warehouse section because it's actually a bank holiday today for the Queen's 70-year Platinum Jubilee celebrations in the UK. So it's actually closed. So I'm down here just making sure everything's fine and bringing you it from here because it's just easier to set up than it is in the normal studio setting. I've got a new studio under construction at the moment though, so you'll start to see more videos very soon. And if you like these videos that I put out for free, whether it's Kendo RANT, whether it's our instructional videos, or it's the analysis videos, feedback videos, I've got more of those coming very soon as well. Then support the channel. You know, the YouTube stuff, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of nonsense. But most importantly, shop at KendoStar.com. That's my website, of course. That's this place. Sells amazing, fantastic, wonderful Kendo equipment. It's the best Kendo equipment in the known universe and the unknown universe, frankly. But of course, I would say that. So check out our Trustpilot rating. Ask people in your dojo. Everyone's using KendoStar, let's be honest, because it's the best. So shop at KendoStar.com. You get awesome gear. I get to feed my kids. We get to keep the show running. Everybody's happy. Okay, right. Let's get into these questions. We've got some great ones. So, right, let's begin. First one. Hi, Andy. Do you plan on doing any Ippon highlight reels from the EKC this weekend? There seems to be a lot more movement than in some of the AJKF videos I watched, whereas in Japan it looks like there's more application of semi with the shinai and less movement of the body. Is there much difference in style between Europe and Japan, or is it just a case of lower dans in Europe not having the same control over the shinai as in Japan? So I'm probably unlikely to do the Ippon compilation sort of highlight reels or something like that, especially with my sort of commentary on the EKC. I don't really like doing it. It seems to be a little bit of a I don't know. I feel like I'm asking for trouble doing that, so I don't think I want to do that. But in terms of your question, yeah, there is obviously a noticeable difference. Like if you sort of compare the European Championships with something like the All Japan Championships, yeah, you're going to have a noticeable difference. And I think the main difference and the main reason you're going to get that is because there is such a different, there's a much broader spectrum of ability in a tournament like the European Championships or even the World Championships. That's why you'll see, like in the World Championships, even the Japanese team players, they'll play those matches differently than they will in the All Japan Championships, yeah, because there is a different variance of ability and different. I hesitate to use styles of Kendo because I don't like that phrase in itself, but it is very different. Part of it is because there is obviously, like at the All Japan Championships, the lowest grades in the All Japan Championships are usually like 4th dan, and that's only because they're really, really young. But like a lot of the competitors are sort of 5th dan, 6th dan, and even 7th dan. So they are at a sort of higher level of Kendo in lots of ways. But it's not just that; it's the qualifying process for the All Japans is very, very stringent. You've got to get through. You've got to win tournaments to get into the tournament in the first place. So the overall level is extremely high, whereas in the Europeans it's not quite like that, because obviously it's a mixture of all different countries that are all different stages of their Kendo development. That's not like a sort of derogatory thing towards the European Championships or not at all. It's just a very different environment, right? So that means that all of the players, especially the high level ones, actually have to play they would play those shinai differently than they would if everybody was almost at the same level, if that makes sense. Let's say it was like a 6th dan and above tournament. The shinai is going to be very, very different, yeah. which is in some ways is how you can sort of imagine the All Japans or something like that to be similar to. So I'm not saying it's because they don't have the same control of the shinai. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's just that the overall atmosphere and conditions of the tournament are very different, and that's why you see those differences, in my opinion, anyway. Next one, Hi Fish Sensei. In my mad quest for Tenuchi, I've been having problems with my right hand losing grip and slipping down my shinai. Have you ever had similar problems, and if so, is there a remedy? So yeah, so look, here's the thing with the whole Tenuchi thing. You're gonna have to excuse me a little bit. As regular watchers of the channel will know, I suffer quite badly from hay fever allergies, and it really gets me in the throat. And today is one of those days. So please do excuse me if I'm sort of croaky and I'm coughing a bit. Now, when you're swinging the shinai for your Tenuchi, it's not correct to lose grip with the right hand either. You should swing the shinai mainly with the left hand. This is correct, yeah? Mainly with the left hand. Hope you can still hear me. Mainly with the left hand like this, right? But you still have to grip slightly with the right hand. You don't swing with the right hand, but you do grip the shinai with the right hand slightly. And at the moment of impact, you must squeeze with both hands. Here. Both hands. Right hand and left hand together. This way. For your strike, yeah? Does that make sense? So it's not like this. You can't actually do the Tenuchi as well with just, well, I mean, you can if you're quite experienced in advance. That's why you can do the kata de waza. But, you know, for the most part, you want to do Tenuchi with both hands this way. Swing. And not swing with the right hand, but grip that last moment with the right hand. So try not to let it slip. All right. Now, obviously, with it slipping, it does mean that you're not engaging the right hand too much. So that's a good thing, but it's not a great thing to be in the habit of. All right. So I do want you to kind of have a think about that. All right. Does that make sense? I don't know if it answers your question. I hope it does. Just nudge the microphone. Hope you can still hear. Okay. Next one. Okay. Right. Hi, Andy. Wakigamai and upward strikes question coming. Great. Inspired by the last one. I have no interest in using it in Shiai. Good. What I wonder purely theoretically, if Nuki Hidari Do made upwards from Waki could be considered Yuko Datotsu. As I understand Datotsu criteria, it should, if made correctly with Hasuji correct posture. Because the definition of a correct strike never mentioned the necessity of striking downwards correct. Or maybe I'm missing something. Once again, I'm never going to use it. Just asking as an exercise and understanding the criteria. So what you're talking about, right, is going to Wakigamai and then making an upwards Gyakudo strike or Hidari Do strike, if you're going to use the proper terms. Yeah. Like this. And then somehow expecting it to be considered valid. Look, in theory, yeah. In theory, right? In theory, yeah, you can do like katate gyakudo according to the rules, right? You know, according to the criteria of Yuko Datotsu, if you fulfill those criteria, it can be considered valid. But let's be honest, it's not going to be, is it? Yeah. So, just spin that off. Right? Your upward strikes are not going to work. All right? Wakigamai is not going to work. It's not a practical kamai for in the context of Kendo. Your upward strikes are most likely to hit someone in the armpit or the ribs, cause them considerable pain and discomfort. It's just not how it's designed to be. You know, the Borg is not really designed. I won't say it's designed to be like that. It's not designed to be like that, but it's just not part of how Kendo is at the moment. So, you know, like I say, there's lots of things that technically could meet the criteria of Yuko Datotsu given the criteria as they're written out. But in the real world, are they going to? They're not, are they? Right? So, I know it's probably not the answer you were probably hoping for, but I think it's an idea that you should just, like I say, just pop it in the bin and move on. Wakigamai is not. It's for the kata and just the kata. All right. Kendo is not kenjutsu. Trigger alarms. Should have a trigger warning, Shinai. Andy's about to say something spicy. Kendo's not sword fighting, it's not Kenjutsu. There's no Kiri Otoshi. Right, next one. If we go straight for Kote and the opponent happens to move and we hit Hidari Kote instead, is that still an Ippon assuming the criteria are met? P.S. Real story during routine Keiko. Just not sure what to make of it. No, it's not. No, it's not. I won't leave it there. It's not because, one, I'm not sure how you can actually hit the Hidari Kote. Hidari Kote is left Kote when they move, but let's say that they did. You didn't intentionally do it, right? So it's not really the Datotsu no Kikai. You just did it by sort of, by chance. You happen to hit the wrong Kote. But that isn't obviously the waza you were trying to do. So no, it can't be considered valid in that situation. That isn't to say you can't strike the left kote. You can only strike. You can't strike the left kote if they're in Jodan, but if they're in another posture, you can strike it. If they're trying to defend themselves like this, you can hit this one. This is okay. Trying to do this sort of thing, whatever. Trying to do wakigame. You can hit the left kote. But you have to do it on purpose. It's like saying if you try to hit men and they go like this and you hit the kote by accident, can you still get kote? No, you can't. Okay, it falls into the same category. Right, here's a good one. Let's have a look. Let's see. Right, hey Andy, I need help connecting two different instructions. Many, including yourself, have said to watch videos of high-level Kendo, which makes sense. But my sensei also told me that I shouldn't try to fight exactly like them because I don't have a full grasp of all nuances in their Kendo. For example, when doing small semi-motion with the shinai, it just looks like I'm flopping it for no reason. So my question is, what should I be looking for when watching these high-level videos? Okay, that's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. I like it a lot. So you need to watch the high-level Kendo so that you can burn a mental image into your brain as to what Kendo is supposed to look like, and then try to emulate it. Now, when I say emulate it, I'm mainly talking about emulating or copying the direct movements, particularly of their waza. All right, and as you get more advanced and more capable, you can then start to look at how those waza were achieved and maybe look at copying that as well. That works as well. But first, you need to look at how do they hit men in terms of how do their arms move, how do their legs move, how does their body move, and try to copy that. You also have to use a bit of your brain whilst doing it because, if you're like 21, like in university or something, there's no point you going and watching like some Hachidan in their 60s and trying to copy their Kendo or how they move. That's not right either. You can take some inspiration from it, but you don't really want to look at that. You want to be looking at people who are a similar age to you that are doing very high level Kendo instead. So that's what I'm talking about when I want you to look at high level Kendo. High level doesn't necessarily mean high grade. Yeah, there's high schoolers that are really high level, because they're playing at all Japan level. For me, that's high level. That's what I mean when I say high level. Anyway, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're really high grade dan grades. Now the issue that you've got, like if you try to start copying things like the way they move the shinai when they do their semi, it will just look like you're just flapping around with the shinai because you don't have a sort of credible threat to back it up. So, you try to do that, but the other person's not going to believe you. It's not going to affect them because they're not going to be like, oh, I've got to watch out because this guy's really on fire. Like it's like you need the foundation, you need the waza for your semi to work. Yeah, it has to be credible. It has to be like, oh, I've got to watch out here, or I'm gonna get caught with that awesome kote that he does, or whatever. You can't just try to copy it and then you can't back it up. Otherwise, you are just sort of flopping around. And believe it or not, you can't fake it till you make it either. It's not one of those sort of things because the fact that your waza aren't up to scratch betrays itself when you try to do the semi, right? So you can't just fake it either and like kind of try to look like you're going to do the really strong semi and then like, yeah, I've got a really good men strike me. Look at this. like this. It doesn't happen like that. And even if it does, it only happens once. All right, so yeah, that's what I guess I mean by that, if that makes sense. Yeah. Do watch the high level Kendo. Do try to copy their movements, especially of their techniques. Don't worry too much about the semi until you've sort of started to get a grasp of it yourself, and then you can start to use it to take inspiration. Next one, not a proper rant, more of a congratulations to the GB squad at the European Championships. Also congratulations to my instructor Goodwin Sensei on his promotion to 7th Dan. Slight rant for the poor TV coverage. The link to YouTube was unsupported except for a secondary link with inaudible commentary. Do you have any good footage of the championships? I don't have any good footage of the championships. Actually, I thought the live stream was pretty good. I watched it and it seemed pretty clear to me. Don't know though. Yeah, look, massive congratulations to the GB squad. I was absolutely over the moon with their performance, especially as I've been training with them myself for the last few years, in a sort of intermediary, sort of temporary part of the coaching team, sort of in a peripheral sense, which is cool. It was great to see them do pretty well in the individuals. Very well actually, to be honest. 3 silver medals, can't complain about that. One in the juniors, ladies, and in the men's. Fantastic stuff. I think it's the first ladies one we've had in a long time. So very, very, very pleased with Mrs. Ogle's performance. She did fantastic. Yeah, the boys, they're boys to me, in the men's and juniors, did super well as well. So yeah, they're doing super great. I think the whole team is on a great trajectory. Fantastic as well about Goodwin Sensei, one of the people I respect most in this world. He was one of, he was the coach for me when I was part of the national team for a while. Excellent Kendo. I love his Kendo, and absolutely fantastic achievement, and very well deserved 7th Dan achievement. I'm absolutely over the moon to hear that. So yeah, that's 2 people this month, I think. Last month, no, in the space of a month, should we say, that I know very well, who have achieved the 7th Dan, which is just amazing, and I'm very jealous. Still got a few years to go. We'll see if I can do it. Right, next one. Hi Andy. Where would you recommend to go in the UK for in-depth kata lessons? So this is a great question. I love it. I know it's like a specific UK one, but I think this is going to be an answer that is probably going to trigger some people, and it's relevant to people everywhere. So look, nowhere. Look, that's not to say there's not some dojos that do in-depth kata sessions, because there is. I'm sure there is. In fact, I know that there is. But I'm not going to recommend you do, any over another, because I don't know where you are for a start. But I know that there are some, and I'm not going to sort of start shouting them out over here. But here's where I'm going to upset some people, right? You're not really supposed to learn kata in depth at the dojo. I mean, kata is like the sort of thing that you self-study, and you practice it at the dojo when you have chance and time. And the in-depth aspect of it, you actually study by yourself, mainly through shinai kendo. That's going to upset some people, but that's what I think. Look, I don't think the in-depth aspects of kata are that relevant to most people until at least 5th Dan anyway. So until sort of 5th Dan, I think you really just need to remember the moves. And then once you get your 5th Dan, you can start worrying about what the moves mean and the stuff behind it. So, and I think that they are things that you start to realize and start to understand in your own time. I don't think that there's something that you go and have to spend 2 hours practicing every week to start to get the proper grasp of. My dojo, we practice, we do one of our sessions a month we dedicate to kata. So we do two hours of kata practice once a month. And and part of the reason for that is because we've got a great mixture of levels of people. But even then, we concentrate mainly on the movements rather than on like the in-depth philosophical side of it. Because actually, and it's something I say to my students as well, is that I really do think that kata is one of the aspects of Kendo that's most improved by self-study, rather than dojo time. So make of that as what you will. Put a comment below, tell me how wrong I am. See if you can change my mind. Doubt it. Next one. Any online Kendo classes? I live super rural and remote, and I think the closest place is like 2 hours for classes. So is there something online? Look, there's no like regular classes online. You can't really learn it online. If you check out Kendo Zero to Jodan, it's my video series, and the couple of online keikos that I did over the sort of time when we weren't able to do Kendo together. Then you might pick up some stuff there. But I think if you really want to learn it, you're going to have to look at making that 2-hour journey at least once a month, and then see if you can practice on your own in between, especially if there's more than one of you. But you're going to really struggle on your own. So, yeah, it's not impossible. It has been done. And to very, very, very great success. But it's going to take a lot of patience and dedication on your part, and you're going to need more than just yourself. But go and watch Zero to Shodan, follow it exactly to the letter. Try and follow along to some of the online keikos that I did, which is still on YouTube. I'm sure if you search like the Kendo Show online keiko, then it'll come up, and see how you get on. All right, see how you get on, and then see if you can make a trip over to the one that's about 2 hours away. Maybe like once a month or something, and I think that'll be a good starting point for you to be able to figure out if you can carry on by yourself. Okay, next one. Right, let's have a look. Right. Hi Andy, any thoughts on the EKC? What were your preferred players, male and female, and why? Just curious. Besides that, I have a concept question. Could you explain what is Temi? I received sometimes the feedback that I should work on it and also not to go back and first dan if it could help. I just can't prevent to go all in if I don't feel I'm ready. Sometimes after I applied semi, maybe not very effective by pushing forward. I don't feel like I'm ready to go or make an ippon, so I just go back. In that moment, people tend to attack, but it ends up me either blocking or they missing the target. Thanks for your feedback. Cheers. Okay. Thoughts on the EKC? I think I've already given most of my thoughts. I thought it was a great tournament. I thought it was a fantastic event, very well run. Obviously, very different with challenges in place this time that haven't been in place before, new rules, stuff like that. It was a great tournament. I really enjoyed watching it. Super happy with how the GB team did, of course, but some fantastic Kendo from all the teams involved. A couple of players stood out to me. I don't really like sort of dropping names too much on here, especially like in Europe, because like people seem to get upset. But look, I tell you what, I really enjoyed the I think it was the final ladies team match between France and Germany. I thought that was fantastic, really fantastic, and I think it was the Chuken match. Where the German girl got injured but still won. She was awesome. And so was her opponent, frankly. I thought that was a really great match. I really enjoyed it. But there's some great matches in the juniors too. Some not so great ones also. But that's how it goes. Men's matches, yeah, they were good. Pretty much as expected for the most part. Saw some people whinging about the final. Obviously it was a really close one, only decided by 1 point, and the one of those points was decided by Hansoku. Well, that's how it goes, and that's what happens if you stand by the edge of the shiaijo. So I don't consider that like in any way sort of detrimental to the victory that France were eventually able to achieve. It was very you go against a really experienced competitor like that, who I know is an experienced competitor and I have competed against personally, you don't stand by the edge of the shiaijo, and you certainly don't do hikiwaza when you're near the edge of it. So, you know, and this isn't a criticism of the player that did it. I know it sounds like that. It's not. It's absolutely not, because when you're in the shiai, you know, especially in that level of pressure, then yeah, look, you know, you don't always make the best decision at the time you need to make it. That's part of the point of the shiai, right? So absolutely no disrespect or sort of detriment to the guy playing for Italy either. But what I'm saying is when that decision is made, it's not the best one. You do end up going out of the shiaijo. You know, no one can look at that and say that, oh, that isn't a fair way for them to win. So my comment is targeted towards some of the very few comments I saw of people complaining about how France won that final match. They won it completely fairly and squarely, in my opinion. All right, but a very, very fantastic, valiant effort from both teams in that final as well. So I thought it was great. Anyway, Stemi. So look, Stemi is when you throw everything into the cut, throw everything away without fear of being struck yourself, and that's the bit you're obviously struggling to get over. You're first down at the minute, but look, you shouldn't be getting into Isoku Ito if you're not ready to hit, right? So where you said I can't just go in if I don't feel ready. So go all if you don't feel ready. Then don't be in Isoku, right? You can't get to Isoku Ito if you're not ready to hit. But look, you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get hit. It's fine. You're like first dan. When you're first dan, you get hit loads, right? It's part of it, right? Being hit is part of learning Kendo. That's why you've got Borga. So what you've got to do is you just got to try and throw that away. Throw away that care and worry, especially in Jigeiko, of whether you're going to receive the strike. Get yourself to Isoku, and then when you're going to hit, just hit and throw anything away. And if they do the Kaishido or the Degote or something like that, whatever, just make sure that your Menko is better and just throw everything into it. And that's what Stemi is really. Yeah, it's overcoming that fear to get, you know, to receive a strike. And it takes practice, it takes work, because what you've got to overcome your own ego in a way, right? It's hard. It's hard. Don't expect to achieve it every time either. I certainly don't. Yeah. So just keep trying. But once you get into Isoku, your striking distance, you've got to be ready to go. And when you go, you've got to go with everything. Okay? Don't go half-hearted. Okay, I think we're near the end. We've got a couple more. All right, so. Hi, Andy. 2 different questions regarding the same topic. How to pass 5th dan properly. What are the points to consider doing in order to pass, or better, what will make one fail? And 2, what are the thoughts on regarding Jodan and Nito in higher dan grades, 5th dan and up? I've heard a few sensei advising against it, even if said person is practicing solely Jodan and Nito and it's already highly advanced. It was said the risk of meeting examination partners that might mess up the shinsa for both of us is high, so it's better to tackle it in Jodan. Cheers. All right. So, how do you pass 5th dan? Look, you pass 5th dan by doing Kendo that properly interacts with your opponent. Now, look, I can only talk about this from the point of view of someone that passed 5th dan myself, like, years ago. I'm not qualified to be an examiner 5th dan. You've got to be 7th dan to do that. But my understanding, and the way, to be frank, the guidelines set out by the All Japan Kendo Federation put 4th dan and 5th dan together, right? In that you have to do Kendo that is starting to exhibit some element of the eye, yeah, a rationale. In other words, it's got to interact with the opponent. Why are you doing this technique? Why are you choosing to approach the tachiai in that fashion? Yeah, why are you choosing this technique now? When you know, are you just attacking randomly or just off your own accord with no regard to how that affects the opponent? That's the main crux of it in my book. All right. That means, like, are your ojiwaza the result of some kind of hikidashi, getting them to strike, or some kind of seme, putting the pressure on them? are your shikakewaza in response to openings that you've created through your approach. Things like this, all right? And then obviously you need to have a good enough quality of kendo. Yeah, your strikes have to unquestionably be able to meet the criteria of Yuko Datotsu, of course. That's a technical point. You shouldn't get past third dan though if you can't do that. Now in terms of regarding Jodan and Nito, I'm sort of torn on it. If you only do Jodan and you do Jodan all the time, and you feel confident that you're good enough to do it in Jodan, then do it in Jodan. Technically, I'd say the same for Nito. Especially if it's the only kamae that you use. What I would say is that it gets harder to pass high-level exams in those kamae because it's harder to demonstrate what the panel is looking for. I think that's especially key for Nito, though it is also a situation for Jodan as well. Because what you've got is you've got to try and influence your opponent from Jodan is actually quite a lot harder than from Chudan because you don't have a shinai to do it with. Your shinai is behind you. You can't use the shinai as part of your semi. You can, but and you do, but it's harder to demonstrate that. And the same with Nito, because what you often get with Nito is they just use the shoto to bash the shinai out the way or to hook it out the way whilst they strike. And that's not really showing what they want. Just because you start making hits doesn't mean you pass the grade. So it's actually very hard in Nito to show that, because I think a lot of Nito players, especially at the sort of intermediate level, use the shoto as a crutch. To be honest, which is one of the reasons that I sort of jokingly sort of talk about Nito, like I do, in the sort of way that I do sometimes, and it's because a lot of sort of intermediate players do just overly rely on the shoto, whereas the really good ones don't do that. They do kendo like people do in Chudan. Now, I would say as well, there's a good argument to say that if you're good at Jodan, like I've never seen a good Jodan player that's not also good in Chudan. Like I've never seen one that's not good at both. So take that as what it will, for what it is. If you feel confident to do it, I don't think it's right to say you shouldn't do it because you might mess up the grading for someone else. Someone's taking 5th dan and they can't do the grading against the Jodan or the Nito player, then they're probably not good enough to get the 5th dan either. So, like when I take my next grade, 7th dan, if one of my partners is doing Jodan or Nito, it wouldn't put me off. Frankly, I'm not concerned about it. I'd probably feel at an advantage if they were doing Nito, to be honest. So take that for what it is. But and I don't consider myself a particularly good player against Jodan, to be honest. But I wouldn't feel like any further. I wouldn't feel like the odds are against me. Any more so than they are in Chudan. All right, so don't do it for that reason. If you feel confident enough to do it, then do it. Okay, last one. Hi Andy, I've noticed recently that I'm getting cuts under my big toes and on both my feet. This makes doing kendo quite painful at the moment, especially later on in keiko. I suspect this is due to an error in my footwork, although I'm not quite sure how to correct it, as I often redirect my focus to having my feet straight, yet the issue persists. Is there anything I'm missing here, or maybe causing it, or is it a case of practice and repetition? Secondly, do you think you could make a video about improving your kamae? So quickly on the second one, yes, I'm going to make a video about how to improve your kamae, because it is such a big issue in kendo that is like totally overlooked. Like if your kamae is wrong, and it's one of the things I've picked up so much from doing these feedback videos that I do, is that how common it is, and it's in my dojo as well teaching, how common it is for people to have the sort of problems with the kamae that's affecting the whole kendo, but it's seemingly easily overlooked. So I'll definitely be making a video about that. In terms of the issue with your feet, it may well be that your feet aren't as straight as they think they are, so you're turning on them. But what you can do is, it's quite common, and it happens to me too, especially if I practice a lot. So the best thing to do is just to get a bit of like zinc oxide tape or some sort of cotton tape. We sell it on KendoStar if you want to buy it, but you don't have to get it from there. There's other places you can get it from too. And just wrap it around your big toes where they meet the ball of your foot. Just wrap a piece around there, and it'll prevent it. That's what I normally do pretty much for every practice on my left foot. And then otherwise it's just going to be a case of practice and getting your feet used to kendo a bit more. But yeah, I'm sure that'll help. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Have a fantastic weekend. Shop at KendoStar, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.